Good morning. Welcome to Friday's show inside Nigerian Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Webber. Today is June 13, 2025. Thank God it's Friday, a day after Democracy Day celebration. And of course, what do you expect? The papers are awash with the fallout of yesterday's President Bola Tinubu's address at joint National Assembly session. And as we normally do on the program, we start off with Nigeria's foremost Friday newspaper, and that is Leadership Friday. But after we do that, we'll go over to their cover story, and which is from this day newspaper, where President Tinubu, in his address, Democracy Day address, was telling PDP that he feels, that he feels is his pleasure seeing PDP in disarray. But before we go to that, let's look at leadership's leading story. Leadership Friday says Democracy Day, Tinubu confers national honors on Kudirat, Abiola, Wonsu, Yaradua, others. Leading story on today's Leadership Friday. Democracy Day, Tinubu confers national honors on Kudirat, Abiola, Wonsu, Yaradua, others. Pays tribute to MKO Ogoni 9, says Nigeria will not become one-party state. And the story continues on page 4 of Leadership Friday. We have a wraparound advert just beneath that leading story. However, let's move to page 3, as we normally do for the excerpts from that editorial, which is our stand. Today's stand is on the 3-year ban for examination cheats. The 3-year ban for examination cheats. Recent developments in Nigeria's education sector have laid bare the appalling rot eating deep into its foundations, from the alleged mismanagement of 71 billion naira under the nascent student loan scheme involving banks and some universities to widespread glitches in the last unified tertiary matriculation examination UTME, and from the leaking of English language questions in the ongoing senior secondary school certificate examination SSSCE, to the tragic collapse of a classroom block on SSSCE candidates in Taraba State. The signs are ominous. These events point unmistakably to a sector in severe decay. Let's move towards the conclusion of our stand. As a newspaper, we urge the government to go beyond surface level interventions like the proposed 3-year ban. The root causes, lack of adequate preparation, undue parental pressure, a flawed value system, and institutional corruption must be addressed. Parents must reduce the psychological pressure they place on children and stop imposing subject choices and career paths. Candidates should be allowed to pursue courses aligned with their interests and abilities. That is excerpts from today's stand in Leadership newspaper, the 3-year ban for examination cheats. From our stand, we move to the back page of the paper where we have conversation with Azu. Today's conversation, he's paying tribute to Uncle Sam at 90. Uncle Sam Amuka is the publisher of Vanguard newspaper. And in quote, one of Uncle Sam's greatest gifts is his capacity to always look on the bright side, the opposite of the essence of a sad Sam. Quote from today's tribute to Uncle Sam at 90. Congratulations. And yesterday too, the president of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, conferred the honors awards to Uncle Sam. Congratulations once again, Uncle Sam. But before we leave the conversation back page with Azul, let's go to Ghana Must Go. Ghana Must Go news says World Bank projects worst economic downturn for 2025. And Ghana Must Go replied back to sender. From that angle, we conclude review of Leadership newspaper this Friday. Don't forget to log into the website of Leadership to read more on the stories and continuation of these headline stories. We move next to our paper, our leading paper, where we are taking today's headline from, and that is These Days. This day says Tinubu to PDP, it's my pleasure seeing you in disarray. One party state, not our plan. Tinubu to PDP, it's my pleasure seeing you in disarray. one party state, not our plan. Perhaps we can have the video on for our viewers. Confers national honors on Yaradua, Soyinka, Kudirat, Abiola, Nadeko chieftains, rights activists, journalists, others. Pardons Ken Saro-Wiwa, other Ogonis. Decorates Akpabio, Abbas, other National Assembly presiding officers with national honors. Let's take some excerpts from that leading story. So leading story today on this day. Actually, there's a second one, just seen it now. But let's read some excerpts from the leading story. President Bola Tinubu has asked leaders of the main opposition People Democratic Party, PDP, to put their house in order instead of accusing him of turning Nigeria into a one-party state, saying it was his pleasure seeing them in disarray. Tinubu, who taunted the PDP national leadership while addressing the joint sitting of the National Assembly on the occasion of June 12 Democracy Day, also seized the occasion to confer national honors on living and late heroes and heroes of democracy. This included wife of the symbol of the June 12 struggle, Elijah Kudirat Abiola. Other beneficiaries of the presidential gesture were environmental crusaders, rights activists, leaders of the National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, journalists, and other Nigerians who play crucial roles in the pro-June 12 struggle to enthrone democracy in the country. Tinubu appealed to the leaders of the opposition PDP to tackle their internal crisis, which was making their leaders to defect in droves to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, and denied insinuations that the APC was nursing the ambition of turning Nigeria into a one-party state. To those who ring the alarm that the APC is intent on a one-party state, I offer you a most personal promise. While your alarm may be as a result of your panic, it rings in error. At no time in the past nor any instance in the present, and at no future junction, shall I view the notion of a one-party state as good for Nigeria. I have never attempted to alter any political party registration with INEC. Equally, my friends, we cannot blame anybody seeking to bail out of a sinking ship, even without a life jacket. Look at my political history. I will be the last person to advocate such a scheme. In 2003, when the then governing party tried to sweep the nation clean of political opposition through plot and manipulation, I was the last of the progressive governors standing in my region. Excerpts from the leading story today on this day newspaper. Tinubu to PDP, is my pleasure seeing you in disarray. One party state, not a plan. Another leading story on the cover of this day today, Friday article. Today, Nigeria teeters on edge of dangerous precipice, creeping one party. Obviously, in response to that. And the story continues on page 43 of this day newspaper. It's on that note we conclude review of front headline story on this day, this Friday. Don't forget to log in to the website of this day for continuation of that leading story. From this day, we move over to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is the Punch newspaper. The Punch says non-kudos as Tinubu honors June 12 heroes. Soyinka, 58 others honored. Saro-Wiwa, Ogoni, 8 pardoned. Critics play president for Uma, Odumakin, other omissions. Critics play president for Uma, Odumakin, other omissions. The story continues on page 2 of the Punch newspaper this Friday. Beside the masthead of the Punch, Democracy Day fireworks, Tinubu opposition trade blows. Protesters, APC supporters hold parallel rallies in Lagos and Abuja. That concludes also the front headline review on the Punch newspaper this Friday, June 13, 2025. Don't forget to log into the website of the Punch newspaper for continuation of those headline stories. Meanwhile, we move to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is Vanguard. Vanguard's leading story says, I don't view one party state as good for Nigeria. Obviously, same story like that of this day newspaper. One party state as good for Nigeria, Tinubu says is in order to see opposition in disarray, just the way this day newspaper captioned it. Tinubu to PDP, it's my pleasure seeing you in disarray. Tinubu has transformed decade Nigeria, coming from the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio. I don't view one party state as good for Nigeria, Tinubu says is in order to see opposition in disarray. Result achievements in 2 years. Tinubu has transformed decade Nigeria, Akpabio. Perhaps you can see the video on that now on the screen.
A one-party state is not in the oven, nor should it ever be. That said, we would be guilty of political malpractice if we close our door on those from other parties who now seek to join the APC. I sincerely welcome our party's newest members from Delta and Akwa Ibom states, led by Governor Sheriff Oboweri and Pastor Umo Eno and other national members of this respected National Assembly. You are all welcome to the progressive fold. Nobody should close the door. Political parties fearful of members leaving may be better served by examining their internal processes and affairs rather than fearfully conjuring up demons that do not exist. For me, I would not say try your best to put your house in order. I will not help you to do so either. It is indeed a pleasure to witness you in such a disarray.
Have you ever wanted to...
Welcome back. That was President Bola Tinubu addressing a joint sitting of the National Assembly yesterday to celebrate Democracy Day, June 12. Moving ahead on our review of Vanguard newspaper, Tinubu celebrates Vanguard publisher Sam Amuka at 90, confers him over 60 others with national honors. Of course, that's the column for Conversation with Azu Leadership today, paying tribute to Sam Amuka at 90. Still on Vanguard newspaper, the last story gracing the cover today, Friday, says IBB apologized to us for annulling June 12, Abiola's son. The story continues on page 10 of Vanguard newspaper, and with that we conclude review of front headline stories today on Vanguard. As we move ahead to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is Daily Sun. Tinubu, Atiku Obi, PDP clash on Democracy Day. President mocks opposition for inability to fix crisis in parties. Tinubu, Atiku Obi, PDP clash on Democracy Day. President mocks opposition for inability to fix crisis in parties. Leading story today on Daily Sun newspaper. And just beside the masthead of Daily Sun, we have Yaradua, other heroes of democracy. Labour set for fresh battle over minimum wage consequential adjustments, means federal government. June 12, talks attack protesters in Ondo. June 12, talks attack protesters in Ondo. The story continues on page 4 of Daily Sun, even as we conclude review of Daily Sun this Friday. We move ahead to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian's leading story says, June 12, President, Nigerians differ on progress impact 32 years after. June 12, President, Nigerians differ on progress impact 32 years after. We have the pictures of June 12 activists or heroes beneath that leading story. And also we have inside the picture of President Bola Tinubu addressing National Assembly, a joint sitting of National Assembly yesterday. Democracy Day, Tinubu honors Alex Ibru, the publisher of the Guardian newspaper. Kudirat Wonsu Akinyemi others with national awards. The news continues on page 9 of the Guardian. Democracy Day, Tinubu honors Alex Ibru, Kudirat Wonsu Akinyemi others with national awards. And still on the Guardian has so many stories on its cover this day. Abiola family seeks legislation to institutionalize June 12. Abiola family seeks legislation to institutionalize June 12. Elia accuses religious leaders of fueling insecurity in Benue. Elia is the Governor Hyacinth Elia of Benue State, accuses religious leaders of fueling insecurity in Benue. International Day, emergency services at risk, over 80% blood shortage in hospitals. Today is International Day, emergency services at risk, over 80% blood shortage in hospitals. Varsities must score 70% in 4 key areas to get full NUC accreditation, says federal government. Winston kills 6 in just 30 in Taraba. That takes us to stories just beneath the masthead of the Guardian. NNPC remits 4.7 trillion naira as oil revenue shortfall hits $5.7 billion. June 12, Soludo Fashola Jega advocates electoral reforms, national rebirth. 1 passenger survives as plane crash kills over 260 in India. The story continues on page 2 of The Guardian. And with that, we conclude front headline reviews today on The Guardian newspaper this Friday, June 13, 2025. For more, don't forget to log into the website of The Guardian, www.guardian.ng. It's also on that note we conclude the first half of today's Inside Nigeria newspaper review. The second half of the program is coming in shortly with our guest in the studio. Don't go away, stay tuned.
For watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 08036886158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.